बारे दीगर सलावात अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद औदु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम. I begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent and merciful. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing us with existence and granting us this Assalamu alaikum Maulana, and granting us this opportunity to move towards Him. Respected Maulana, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Adam Allahu ujurana wa ujurakum bi musabina bil Husayn alayhi salam. Waja'allana wa iyyakum min at-talibina bi sarihi ma'a. Waliyahil Imam al-Mahdi min Ali Muhammad alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our wages and your wages for our affliction with Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, and make us and you among those who seek revenge with his guardian Imam Mahdi ajalallahu ta'ala farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, from the family of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The light of this great sacrifice by Sayyid al-Shuhada will always be lit in our hearts. The light will always make us stand for truth, justice and haqq, and will become brighter with each passing year, leading us to our divine inshallah. Ya Allah, through the light of the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, please help us hear the call on that day and say labbaik wholeheartedly, Ya Hussein. Tonight we're holding the first Majalis of the third series of Muharram Safar Weekend Majalis as we continue to commemorate the Shahadat of Shuhada Karbala. Tonight's Majalis will be addressed by our respected visiting scholar, Hujjatul Islam's Shaykh Jafar Muhibullah of Austin, Texas. As usual, we'll start the program with the recitation of Noble Quran. Tonight, I would like to request our young brother Sayyid Azan Rizvi to please come forward. He will be reciting Surah At-Tariq from Quran, inshallah. Recite a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاقب إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب إنه على رجعه لقادر يوم تبلى السرائر فما له من قوة ولا نصر والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات الصدع إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل إنهم يكيدون كيدا وآكدوا قيدا فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على رسول الله وآله الأطهار على رسول الله وآله الأطهار.
Our young reciter, please recite a loud salawat for him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now I would like to request Sayyid Daniel Zaidi to come and recite Salam and Marsiya for Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Please welcome him with the loud salawat.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, O mother, they've killed my brother." Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra." When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, O mother, they've killed my brother." Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra." When the night fell on that desert camping, a lonely voice was heard in mourning. Then she looked and saw someone approaching, one who would join her in her grieving. She had come to see her progeny and what had become of their destiny. But she could not let her two go closer. She did not want her to really see. "I do not want you to go further. You will only see pain and horror. Body with no head, 72 dead." Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra." When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, O mother, they've killed my brother." Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra." Before you were born, my loving daughter, I was shown this by your grandfather. He told me what was to be for my son and how it would be a tragedy. My brother told me of this day as well. I knew what was to become of me. But even then I could not stand witness when I saw Shimmer walking to him. My mother, you cannot bear to see what they did to his broken body. Arrow in his heart, liver ripped apart. Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra." When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, O mother, they've killed my brother." Zainab said, "Do not look, Ya Zahra." O mother, when he stood and addressed the people who had now turned on him, he cried and shed the bitterest of tears. I never saw such a thing from him. My brother, you who define what is brave, how can I stand to see you crying? I cry not for what shall happen to us, but that the cause of their doom is me. Even in this final moment, he could only think of their torment. How could they kill him? He came to help them. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, O mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Then her mother's eyes began to wander. Another body she had to see. A new grave had been dug in the morning. A young infant in there was buried. There lay the young Qasim, son of Hassan, and next to him the older Ali. But it was Ali Asghar she came to, the one they killed in his father's arms. What was the sin of this poor child? When the arrow hit, he had wailed. He cried, I'm thirsty. Had they no mercy? Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, O mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Another had now joined them in their pain. She had also lost her only sons. Fatima held her hand and led the way to the river she wanted to go. Zainab knew what for, they had gone searching. Her noble brother they could not see. His arms would show and lead them to him, where there lay the rest of his body. He went to bring back for us water. Then we heard a shout, oh my brother. We saw the flag fell, that was the farewell. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, O mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, O mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Salawatu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah, Sayyid Danial Zaidi. May Bibi Sayyida Fatima Zahra Salamullah Alaiha accept your pursa. Recite a loud salawat for him and his family. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. My sister Daniel is a regular at Sacred Roots in Chicago, and inshallah he will be a regular reciter here as well. Once again, for his bright future, he's mashallah completing his PhD. For him, his bright future, recite another loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I just have a few announcements before I invite Maulana to address the Majlis. Registration for Baitul Ilm Sunday School is open for kids ages 2 to 15. You can find the links for registration on our website and our weekly emails. If you have any questions, you can contact the management at sundayschool@baitulilm.org. And just a reminder, as we have been announcing, we're holding our 16th annual blood drive. The blood drive will actually take place tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you are interested in donating blood and you haven't registered, we had some spots open up due to cancellations. So please, we have barcodes on the doors. The management, you can reach out to any volunteers for help with the registration, or you can just show up and we can register you on the spot and answer any questions you might have. Tonight's Majlis is being sponsored by the family of Brother Kazim Raza. For their increase in their tawfiqat and sustenance and rizq, please recite a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhumeen of sponsoring family, as well as all the families who are present, their marhumeen, and for all marhum mu'mineen and mu'minat, please recite a Surah Al-Fatiha, masbukatan bi salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. ज़ैनब अबू तुराब की जीनत का नाम है, ज़ैनब इमामतों की इमानत का नाम है, ज़ैनब अली के खून की तहारत का नाम है, ज़ैनब हुसैनियत की ज़रूरत का नाम है, माना के वजूद शाह में पूरी है करबला, माना के वजूद शाह में पूरी है करबला, ज़ैनब अगर ना हो तो अधूरी है करबला. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tonight we have the honor to host Hujjatul Islam Shaykh Jafar Muhibullah as our guest scholar. Shaykh Jafar has spent over 20 years studying Islam in America and abroad. He writes and speaks on a wide range of relevant and important topics representing the Muslim voice. Shaykh Muhibullah holds a master's in Islamic studies from Duke University. He participated in advanced studies in Islamic jurisprudence, Dars-e Kharij in Qum, Iran, and completed research towards a PhD. His studies include Arabic, Persian, and Urdu literature, discourse analysis, Islamic philosophy, law, and theology. He is currently serving as a resident scholar of Islamic Ahl Bayt Association in Austin, Texas, and also serves as a board member of the Interfaith Action of Central Texas. With that, without further ado, I would like to request Hujjatul Islam Shaykh Jafar Muhibullah to please come to the minbar and address the Majlis. Please welcome him with a loud salawat.
Again, for the hastened reappearance of Imam Azman, and even louder salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم به نستعين. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، أرواحنا له فداء. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من كان يريد ثواب الدنيا فعند الله ثواب الدنيا والآخرة، وكان الله سميعا بصيرا. صدق الله علي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات. First and foremost, I give my condolences to the Imam of our time, Imam H.I Jafar Sharif, and then to all of you on the occasion which we are commemorating in these days and these nights, the aftermath of Karbala, the aftermath of the shahadat of Imam Hussein, his companions, and his Ahlul Bayt alayhim afwa salatu wassalam. The imprisonment of Imam Zain al-Abidin, Zainab al-Kubra, the women and children of Karbala. It is an honor to be back here in Chicago, particularly in the center of my teacher, Mohana Faizi, and among the mu'mineen mu'minat of Chicago. Inshallah, in these next 2 days, my discussion will be around one of the very famous hadith, or at least a hadith that we should be astute to and reading. That is a hadith wherein the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he advises Abu Dhar. And on the one hand, this hadith, I think it is quite important. You know, I had a discussion just the other day with one individual who embraced the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afru salatu wasalam. And this hadith, as we know, it is from Abu Dhar, that the Prophet of Allah, he sat down with Abu Dhar, or Abu Dhar entered the masjid and he sat with Rasulullah. He gained this advice. And then Abu Dhar, he was one of those individuals who never stopped speaking about the teachings that he had learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is one of the reasons why Abu Dhar, he was actually exiled, because for almost 200 years at least, as some individuals, when you read the history of Islam, they say that the Khulafa, they made it forbidden to speak about the hadith of Rasulullah. They said, no, don't write it, don't speak about it. But Abu Dhar, rahmatullah alayhi, he continued to speak about it to the point he was exiled from Medina to a place called Rabwa. One of the, and again it was forbidden, at least by the Khulafa, says don't visit Abu Dhar. But one of the companions went to visit Abu Dhar, the companion by the name of Abu Aswa ad-Du'ali. Abu Aswa ad-Du'ali, who was also a companion of Imam Ali, one of the students of Imam Ali. He went to Rabwa and he sat with Abu Dhar. He says, Ya Abu Dhar, he says, teach me or give me something. And just so you know that Abu Aswa ad-Du'ali, he himself was a scholar in his own rights as well. He is the one that Imam Ali alayhi taught him the foundations of Arabic grammar. And then from what Abu Aswa ad-Du'ali, he learned from Amir al-Mu'mineen, Arabic grammar was established upon that. Just so you can have some background about Abu Aswad. So he sat with Abu Dhar, he says, Ya Abu Dhar, he says that teach me something or give me something that you heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this encounter, one, it shows that, mashallah, among the Shia of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afru salatu wasalam, that this narration or the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was never cut. Of course, we know we have it from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afru salatu wasalam, but also from the companions of Rasulullah, like Abu Dhar, like Abu Aswa ad-Du'ali, Whereas on the other side, they say, oh, well, for 200 years it was forbidden. And then when they begin to write the hadith or try to recollect the hadith, it's 250 years or roughly 250 years later. But we never had that cut in that chain or that education or the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is why this hadith is also very important. And over these next 2 days, I can only speak about a proportion of this hadith, but if you would like to find this hadith, you can actually go to alislam.org, that is al-islam.org, and if you type in the search the advice of Rasulullah, or the advice of the Prophet to Abu Dhar, you will find this hadith. In this hadith, or in this advice, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he advises Abu Dhar about a wide range of topics. And of course, it's not sectioned off into topics, but if you study this hadith, you study what is being said, then you'll find that it is on a wide range of topics that is beneficial for us in our life. Just to give an example, I'm not going to start from the beginning, but in the very beginning, the Prophet of Allah, he tells Abu Dhar, he says, listen, the foundation of every action, of everything you do, is three things. And these three things, which is the foundation of every action, he says, is tawheed, to understand your Creator. Secondly, it is to understand the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, not just simply believing in the Prophet of Allah, but understanding the mission. What was that mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The third thing that he tells Abu Dhar that every action that you do is founded upon, he says, وَحُبِّ أَهْلِ بَيْتِ, love of the Ahlul Bayt, love of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is what he starts with. And then there's advice regarding not only our belief, theology, about our ethics, our ethos, akhlaq, but also about our spirituality as well. And this is what I want to focus on in these next 2 days, that portion where the Prophet of Allah, he gives this advice to Abu Dhar, and it's truly beneficial for us, particularly those of us who live here in the West, and we perhaps have this particular challenge of trying to balance our faith, our religious life, our spiritual growth with our worldly life. Again, of course, if we look at our worldly life, quite often we excel in that. Our degrees, our college, university, all of these things. But how do we balance that with also our spiritual growth? To really feel fulfilled in our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is that advice, or that proportion of advice that I want to kind of focus on, that Rasulullah, he gives to Abu Dhar. And he tells Abu Dhar, he says, Ya Abu Dhar, he says, الدنيا ملعونة وملعون ما فيها إلا ما ابتغي به وجه الله. He says, Ya Abu Dhar, he says, this dunya is cursed. Again, in Arabic, dunya is something that is low. He says, this dunya is cursed. And whatever is in this dunya as well is also cursed, mal'un. Except for that which you take from this dunya, you use in this dunya to do what? That you look, ibtaghiya bihi wajhullah. That you benefit from this dunya in order to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the perfect examples, or the best examples of this that we find in the Quran itself, again with the Ahlul Bayt, alayhim afdalus salatu wassalam, and this is there in the rationale of that part of that love that we have to have for the Ahlul Bayt, because when we have that love for the Ahlul Bayt, we gain that example. Everything that the Prophet of Allah he's speaking about, and of course, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed in the Quran, we see it in the example of Rasulullah and his Ahlul Bayt, alayhim afdalus salatu wassalam. That famous verse in Surah Al-Insan where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about that event, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. When the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, when they were fasting for 3 days, they had the individuals come to them, yatim, miskin, wa asira, the person who's destitute, the orphan, and the person who is stuck, ibn sabil, as they said. That when they came, what did they do? They didn't eat, they gave their food away. But for what reason? The Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, that their objective was not to gain the favor or praise of people. Not for the jazil and the shukr for people. Innama, which emphasizes exclusive. Innama nut'imukum liwajhillah. That by doing this action, the only thing that we want, the only thing that we seek is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. So this is what the advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in a nutshell, it is to Abu Dhar. That Ya Abu Dhar, ad-dunya mal'una, wa mal'unu ma fiha illa mabtughiya bihi wajhullah. That whatever is in it is cursed, except for that which you use of this dunya to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is, of course, like any other hadith or statement of Rasulullah or the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, or even for that matter the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran. It's very simple. We can read it, we can understand or comprehend at least the words of it, but how do we actually take that and we put it in our life, we implement it in our lives? And inshallah, hopefully through this advice and examining this advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we are able to do that. One of the things that we kind of see, that if we take the ahadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasallam kind of in its entirety, this is one of the things that is spoken about. Even many of our ulama as well, that where or how we should actually look and perceive this dunya. And quite often in that advice, you'll find that even, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even the name ad-dunya daniya. When you look at that word in the Arabic, ad-dunya means something that is low. It's not the highest of things. It's not the greatest of things. But it's something that is insignificant. Something that if we compare to the other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll see that, this is insignificant. It has its value, it has its use. But we need to understand, where is that balance? Where is that balance with regards to our engagement with this dunya? And how do we actually use this dunya to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Among the poems, it's actually ascribed to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. And this in itself is an interesting aspect, that we find that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, at least in some of the, you could say, narrations or some of the reports that we have from them, of course we have the ahadith, the du'as, but on some occasions as well, we find that, again, they're not poets writing poetry all the time, but on occasion or two, we'll find different poems that are ascribed to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam. In one sense, that means that they were connecting just to everyone, just a regular individual. Just like today, if you want to connect to some people, you gotta be on social media. You send a tweet, or you send, the Instagram reel, or whatever you're doing. So Imam al-Mu'mineen, or at least what is ascribed to him, he says that جَمِيعُ فَوَائِدِ الدُّنْيَا غُرُورٌ وَلَا يَبْقَى لِمَسْرُورٍ سُرُورٌ وَقُلْ لِلشَّامِتِينَ بِنَا أَفِيقُوا فَإِنَّ نَوَائِبَ الدُّنْيَا تَدُورُ. Again, along that same line, he says that all of the benefits, جَمِيعُ فَوَائِدِ الدُّنْيَا, Again, this is one of the ways that we can understand that. How do we really interact? He says, جَمِيعُ فَوَائِدِ الدُّنْيَا. He says that, look, if you really assess the benefits of this dunya, or what we think that we're gaining from this dunya, he says that ghururu. He says it's an illusion. That if we truly think that the benefit that we're taking is a worldly benefit, and if that's the only thing we see, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, the verse that I recited in the beginning, verse 134 of Surah An-Nisa, so chapter 4 of the Quran, verse 134. It says, "Man kana yuridu thawab ad-dunya," whoever wants the reward of this dunya, the benefits of this life. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in other words, okay, you can take the benefits of this world, but that's all you will get. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after that he says, فَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ ثَوَابُ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, that the reward, the true benefit of this world and the next is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that means that whatever we think that we're gaining from this world, if we don't connect it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then truly there's really no benefit in it. It's that illusion that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, he's referring to. جَمِيعُ فَوَائِدِ الدُّنْيَا غُرُورٌ. It's an illusion. He says, why? وَلَا يَبْقَى لِمَسْرُورٍ سُرُورٌ. Why is that? Because whatever we gain in this dunya, he says, its happiness, it doesn't continue forever. For example, whatever we achieved, mashallah, I have my PhD, mashallah, I achieved this high status, mashallah, I gained this raise, mashallah, I'm making 6 figures, mashallah, until when? There will be a point where, again, we separate from this dunya. We return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if that's PhD, if that status, if that 6 figures, if it only benefited us in this dunya, as Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says what? لَا يَبْقَى لِمَسْرُورٍ سُرُورٌ. That happiness will only be short-lived. To the extent of what? Our life. Why? Because we haven't connected to something that is eternal, that's everlasting, that will go beyond this world. And this is why also that next part of the line is so beautiful, because when you look at those who stood against the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afsalatu, again, what were they after? Get their status, their position in this world. What was Yazid after? What was Ibn Ziyad after? What was Shimra after? Was it something that will connect them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or was it all just worldly benefit? So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, فَقُلْ لِلشَّامِتِينَ بِنَا أَفِيقُوا. That so tell those individuals who, again, they took us for granted, they misused us, tell them to wake up and truly understand this. فَإِنَّ نَوَائِبَ الدُّنْيَا تَدُورُ. Why? Because whatever they have gained from this world, or whatever they have done in this world, is going to come back upon them. That truly, if they were connecting it to Allah, then okay, that will come around. But if it wasn't connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what will happen? That they will not have that happiness, and whatever they have sown, they will reap the reward of that. Whatever evil they have sown. So, as the Ahlul Bayt there indicating, we truly have to understand this dunya, and understand how to connect this dunya, or whatever we do in this dunya, to our akhirah. I'll give you a very beautiful example of this that we also find in the interactions and encounter of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. That as Malaika and Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was returning back from the battle of Al-Jamal, battle of the camel. One of the companions who was in Basra, he was not able to actually join. a individual by the name of Ala ibn Ziyad. He was ill, so he wasn't able to stand with Amir al-Mu'mineen in that battle. So Imam Ali alayhi he stops at the house of Ala on his way back. Now Ala, he had a huge house, very big house. So as Imam Ali alayhi he visits him, again pays him that right of that one individual has over his Muslim brother, so that if they're ill, you visit them. So he visits Ala, he asks Allah, he says that, Subhanallah, mashallah. He says, what do you do at this home? Because it was big. So Allah, he says, I live in this home. I'm comfortable. I keep my family comfortable. So Imam Ali alayhi he says, make benefit of this home. He says, invite guests to your home. Host your guests. Treat them well. He says, and in this way, you will gain the thawab of this place. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi didn't condemn him. So, oh, you don't need this place. No, he says that, okay, mashallah, if this is something that you have gained in this world, make benefit of it. Make sure you connect it to your akhirah. At this, Allah, he tells, or he asks, or he requests Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says that, my brother Asim ibn Ziyad, he says, he's the complete opposite. He thanks Imam Ali for this advice. He says, but can you give advice to my brother as well? Asim ibn Ziyad, he was almost at the other extreme. What was that? Asim, he desired to have this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To be like a zahid, a hermit, someone who he focuses on his spirituality. So he tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Asim, he's left his family. He doesn't sleep at home at night. He goes and he sleeps in the graveyard. And this is all he does. He's just there, praying, engaged in ibadah. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he goes to Asim ibn Ziyad. He says, Ya adu Allah, Ya adu wa deen Allah. He says, oh, you're the enemy of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, what are you doing? He says, don't leave your family. Don't leave your duty and your responsibility to your family. This is not the way of connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you assume that, yes, the dunya, yes, it's mal'una. It is something that is low. He says, but you have to live in this dunya. From this we understand that, look, there's a balance. The balance is not that, oh, I gain all of these things and I use none of it to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or I just leave everything and I'm this person that I turn away from the dunya, I go and sit in the corner and I pray, I make dua, but I don't fulfill my social responsibility and duty. Not to my family, to my brothers and sisters in Islam, not to my community. No, that's not where spirituality is. There's a balance in that. That balance that also Imam Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam, that he outlined to one of his companions who came. He says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, he says, make dua for me that I remove this hubb ad-dunya from my heart. So Imam Baqir alayhi salatu, he says, what is this hubb ad-dunya? Why do you think that you have this hubb ad-dunya? He says, because I like wealth. Hubb al-mal. And I like to gain wealth. So Imam Baqir alayhi he asks him the next question. He says, okay, you like wealth, you like to gain wealth. He says, and then what do you do with that wealth? He says, oh, well, when I gain this wealth, he says, I take care of myself so that I'm not in debt to anyone. I take care of my family, and then I give to the poor. And I help out those whoever I can. So Imam Baqir alayhi he says, then this is not hubb ad-dunya. He says, this is not hubb ad-dunya. That if you love wealth, but you're doing these things with wealth, you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your family, you're taking care of those who are less fortunate than yourself, he says, then this is not hubb ad-dunya. But rather it is a position that you're fulfilling your duty and responsibility. Just to kind of give a little bit of icing on the cake so that we truly understand that where's that balance? And it comes, again, engaging responsibly with this dunya. Engaging with this dunya, or whatever we do in this dunya, and we're connecting it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That duty and responsibility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. If that wasn't the case, then Imam Sadiq alayhi hafizahullah, he would not have made this statement. Subhanallah. Beautiful hadith. Even a hadith we perhaps haven't even heard before. Imam Sadiq alayhi hafizahullah, he said, Tis'atu a'shar al-ibadah fi tijara. Subhanallah. He says, 9/10 of ibadah, 9/10 of worship is in what? Fi tijara, in doing business. Subhanallah. That if you want to gain 9/10 of ibadah, then we do business. We do trade. We start our own business. But again, it's not just simply doing business. Oh, mashallah, I'm gathering all this wealth, but I'm not doing anything with that wealth. Like one of the individuals during the time of Rasulullah, Tha'laba Ansari, who he asked Rasulullah, he says, pray for me that I gain wealth. When he gained that wealth, at the point that the Prophet of Allah, he sent the person who was the zakat collector to come and to collect the zakat from Tha'laba. What did Tha'laba say? He says, oh, no, I worked hard for this. I worked hard for this. Now I have to give zakat. No. He refused to give the zakat. He assumed that everything was from his work, hard work. So that point in which, again, the lesson that we learn from this is that whatever we gain from this dunya, whatever we have, our degree, our status, our wealth, our home, whatever, we have to understand that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, it's part of this dunya. But that first step is that, oh, mashallah, I was able to achieve this. By whom? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the intellect to do this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the ability to do this. And along with that barakah, along with that blessing, along with that ability, on the other end, there's what? There's a mas'uliyah. There's a responsibility. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this to you, and now you have to fulfill that responsibility. I'll give you a very interesting story. So it's kind of related to this. It just came to my mind. So, if you would have told me maybe 30, 40 years ago that, oh, hey, you're going to be giving public speaking, you're going to do public speaking, I would have said, oh, no, you're crazy. You're out of your mind. I was very shy, didn't like to do public speaking. And then, mashallah, I love to study, so I would study. And mashallah, your imam, your leader, my teacher, Mullah Faizi, he says, after some time, he says, now you have to give the zakat. I was like, what zakat? He says, your zakat that you learn, now you have to go and teach other people. Now you have to give speeches. I was like, what? Oh no. Yes, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with something, there's a responsibility on the other end. And we have to connect whatever we gain in this world with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why that next advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to Abu Dhar is very important. It teaches us that, okay, well, how do we make this connection as well? He says, Ya Abu Dhar, inna Allah tabarak wa ta'ala awha ila akhi Isa, Ya Isa, la uhibbu ad-dunya fa inni lastu uhibbuha. La tuhibbu ad-dunya fa inni lastu uhibbuha. Wa uhibbu al-akhirah fa innama hiya darul ma'ad. So the Prophet, he tells Abu Dhar, O Abu Dhar, he says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he told to Isa ibn Maryam, he says, don't love this dunya, because I don't love this dunya. but have love and cultivate in your heart love for the akhirah. Why? Because the akhirah, this is the darul ma'ad. This is the place of return. Again, we have to understand this, that why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling Isa ibn Maryam that he doesn't love this dunya? First and foremost, it's not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he hates this dunya, but he hates that attachment or dislikes that attachment that we make to this dunya that takes us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we begin to love this dunya, we begin to love things in this dunya equally as we love Allah, or sometimes even more than we love Allah. And so this is what's not this is what is not liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because on the one hand, we know that in the Hadith al-Qudsi, famous Hadith al-Qudsi, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he states, "Kuntu kanzan makhfiya." I was a hidden treasure, فَأَحْبَبْتُ أَنْ أُعْرَفْ. And I desired, hub, I had that love to what? To be known. And how was he going to make himself known through that love? فَخَلَقْتُ. And I created creation. So yes, everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, he loved. Because he created everything out of his love. But what is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that if his creation, like us, that we begin to love his creation more than him, that we don't understand that, through this creation of his, that we should love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That creation, that truly if we benefited from this dunya as we should, then whatever we see in this dunya, then it should connect us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, one of my favorite verses in Surah Ankabut, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he speaks about the creation, that he's created us from different tribes, different nations, different tongues, and of course, another way he created us from different colors. He says, this is what? Min ayatihi. From the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you read the ayat of Allah, when you connect with the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what should it do? It should connect you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning that whenever we look at the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in its different forms, different shapes, its different fashions, different ethnicities, races, tongues, languages, that we should be like, subhanallah, subhanallah, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this. It should connect us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather than, I like this better than that. That it takes us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that. All we see is that, what we prefer over, no. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything. And through that, we see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is that advice that you, or Isa and Maryam, that don't love that dunya, don't love it to the point that it takes you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That it doesn't remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'll give you one example. We all know this example. Prophet Ayub, we say Sabr Ayub. Even those maggots, those things that were eating at the skin, at the flesh of Ayub. When he looked at us, what did he do? He said, he didn't pluck it out. He said, this is Allah created this. Allah wanted this. So therefore I'm not going to kill it. We're supposed to actually go through that training as well. Where? Al-Hajj. That whenever we're in Mecca, in that sacred area, this is why it's makruh to even scratch. Why? Because there may be a lice just feeding. Some small bug, and what do you do? If you scratch it, you kill it. And this is in this sacred place that everything, every creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is safe in that space. But sometimes we just say, it's a ritual, okay, I don't scratch. And then once we leave from Mecca, once we return, we forget about that. Fly is coming, poof! Immediately we're like, what is this fly? But if you look at the Ahlul Bayt, sometimes these bugs will come, what do they do? They'll capture it, and then they throw it away, throw it out. And the other one we're training, just slap this thing. Get it, it's a nuisance. That's the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do we cultivate that? Love for the akhirah. How do we create that? And this is that practical aspect of it. One of the ulama, and he made this statement about cultivating love of the akhirah, because when we cultivate that love for the akhirah, and we develop this sense of using this dunya the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to use this dunya. So he said that for at least 1 hour, 2 hours a day, he would sit. Again, we don't have to sit that 1 or 2 hours a day. Again, just take a moment to sit and to reflect upon the akhirah. Reflect upon that Darul Ma'ad, that place in which we return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in store for us there? And what do we have here? That how great that blessing is, and yes, mashallah, the blessing here is great too, but how short it is. How, even in the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that even the benefits that we take from this world, well, it's going to be short-lived. The happiness is going to be short. And in some sense, not always the most pleasant of things. For example, we can all think of our favorite food or drink to eat or drink. But when we benefit from it, what happens? It comes, our body takes its nourishment, whatever it needs, and then the rest of it we get rid of. Is it not? It's a polite way of saying it. Our bodies get rid of it. But that food, the fruits, lahmut tayr, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He also speaks about in the Quran, the birds or whatever those birds are, the drinks, that when we partake of it, it doesn't leave our bodies, or that spiritual body. Why? Because it is all nutritious. In fact, as some of the ulama, from examining the riwayat and hadith, says when we partake of that, what will happen? Our ma'rifah and our understanding and our connection and our closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase. There's nothing of waste. And when we think of that, when we compare that, oh subhanAllah, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have in store for me? Yes, there's blessings here, there's barakah here, but what is there? What am I aiming for? What is my true goal in life, in existence? Is it this temporary stuff that has some benefits, but also has some downsides? But there's no downside, all benefit. He says, after reflecting this for some hours, he says, after some time, he says, my heart, it connected to the akhirah. That I had more love for that akhirah than this dunya. He says, yes, I made use of this dunya, but I made sure that in that there's a connection to the akhirah. Let me just show you that this is what the Ahlul Bayt and the Imam intended for us. Again, when we recite the Masa'ib, again, I'm not entering into the Masa'ib now, but there was a moment where Sukaina, the young daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi, after the massacre of Karbala, she went and she laid on the headless body of her father, Imam Hussein. When she woke up, she mentioned that dream and the advice that her father had, Imam Hussein. The advice for a Shia. He says that whenever you drink cold water, it says, remember me. Remember me. Not enter to Musabi, but remember me. That there's two ways that we can do this. We can just drink water, it's mubah. Which quite often we do, we drink the water. How often do we actually do that practice? We sip that water. Ya Hussein. The Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, they are teaching us that how to connect everything we do, even this thing which is so small. Something that we must do. We have to drink. But connected to the akhirah. How do we benefit from that? That yes, I'm drinking water to nourish my body out of necessity. Sometimes it's so hot. I just need to get that water. But do we actually remember Imam Hussein when we were drinking? Or are we just like, oh, I'm quenching my thirst? That's one small thing that they're teaching us. How do we develop that love for the akhirah? One way is also to increase our love for the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdalus wasalam. And understand, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us, he said that in 7 places we will benefit from our love of Ahlul Bayt. One is the moment of our death. That, again, Imam, they will comfort us. The other place is when we are being placed in the grave, that when we are asked those questions, who is your Lord? That moment which maybe out of fear we will forget everything, but we will have that guidance, inshallah, of the Ahlul Bayt. On the day of resurrection, when we are handed our book of deeds, when our account is being taken, then what will benefit us? The love of Ahlul Bayt. One of the ulama urafa, that when he passed away, and some of the other high-ranking ulama urafa, they saw him in his dream, they asked him, he says, well, how is your barzakh? What is that state? Because they saw him in a very nice place. He says, look, he says, none of my actions. He says, what were they really worth? He says, when I was asked, he was like, I couldn't really respond. And even some of those things, it appeared as, yes, I did those things, and yeah, my status went up. I had many students, I wrote books, my name is on that book. He says, then I made tawassul with Fatima to Zahra, salamu alayha. He says, that tawassul, he says, this is what earned me this maqam. And I told Fatima, he says, that one thing I know, that if none of my actions was sincere, that my love for your son, Ya Fatima, was sincere. My love for Hussein. He says, and this is what got me this. Where will that love help us? Also, at the point of the scale, that when we stand on that scale of our deeds, our a'mal. And then also at the sirat. That will help us. Our du'as, they will help us. And particularly, I want to just point to one du'a from the Sahifat al-Sajjadiyya of Imam Zayn al-Abidin. These are the nights that we remember that what happened to Imam Zayn al-Abidin. What happened to those who were held captive after the shahadat of Imam Hussein, his Ahlul Bayt, and his companions. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, alayhi afdalus, again, he teaches us, again, that love for the akhirah. And dua number 27, Ahl al-Thughur, those who are on the battlefront. And in some sense, we're on that battlefront. In some sense, we're on that battlefront between what? Our spirituality and developing it, and what? Or giving in to the materialism. Again, here is at our fingertips. And if we traveled overseas, we've seen, oh, well, yeah, they don't have as much luxury as we have, the access to it, the ability. We can just reach our hand out. And so it is a battleground for our souls. That's how do we use this dunya to it? To connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that dua, Imam Zayn al-Abidin, after giving salutations upon Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, oh Allah, that for those people who are on that battlefront, he says, وَأَنْسِهِمْ عِنْدَ لَقَائِهِمُ الْعَدُوِّ ذَكِّرَ دُنْيَاهُمُ الْخَدَّاعَةِ الْغُرُورِ. That, oh Allah, that when they're confronting that enemy, Who is that enemy on our battlefront? Materialism. Our easy access to all of these things that can make us forget really our deen and our responsibility, our true responsibility in this world. That Allah make them forget that dunya, which is cheating, which is an illusion. Make them forget that when they confront that enemy. That when we're at that point of temptation and, oh, you know what? I can get that extra money, or I can get that maqam or this and that, but I have to do something that is not right according to my deen. So Allah makes them forget that dunya, which is a delusion. وَمْحُوا عَنْ قُلُوبِهِمْ خَطَرَاتِ الْمَالِ, and remove from their hearts the enchantment of possessions. Do I do something that Allah will not be pleased with simply so I can gain this dunya? Or do I say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Why? So I can gain the akhirah. I cultivate that love of the akhirah in my heart. This is the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. This is the direction that they're guiding us in. But if we go with that enchantment of the dunya, then what is the difference between the Shimr, the Yazid, the Ibn Ziyad? That on one side is whom? Imam Hussein alayhi salatu, who the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has guaranteed paradise. Sayyid al-Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. And you kill someone who is guaranteed paradise thinking that, oh, well, eventually I will get there. Oh, no. They only thought to secure their dunya, but not the akhirah. And to a point that was so strange that, subhanAllah, I get choked up every time I remember. There was one point on the battlefield where Imam Hussein, he stood alone, even after the Shahadat of Ali Asghar. He told these people, he says, don't you know who I am? Ana ibn Fatima, I'm the son of Fatima. Ana ibn Rasulullah, I'm the son of Rasulullah. Don't you know that if I make dua, my dua is answered? They all say yes. He says, leave me at this point, and I will make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives you for all of this atrocity. What was their response? The response is that they martyred Imam Hussein. They raised his head upon a spear, but that was not even enough. They put the women and children in chains. They put Imam Zayn al-Abidin in chains. They ushered the Ahlul Bayt to that place where Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he said it was the most difficult place. What? Asham, Asham, Asham. So difficult that even Imam Zayn al-Abidin, that when he returned back to Medina, one of the places that he indicated upon in his first sermon, his first statement was what? Sham. Sham. What did Imam Zayn al-Abidin say when he entered into Medina and he's indicating Sham? He tells the people, أيها القوم إن الله وله الحمد ابتلانا بمصائب جليلة وثلمة في الإسلام عظيمة. He says, O people of Medina, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has afflicted us with a calamity that is great. That calamity which no one has seen like this calamity. What was that calamity? قتل أبو عبد الله الحسين وعترته وصبي نساؤه وصبيته. That what was that great calamity that the Ahlul Bayt had seen? that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he was martyred, but that was not enough for the enemies of Allah. They took the women and children into captivity. When they took them into captivity, what did they do? They said in the Maqtal that they took the head of Imam Hussein, and in every place they went, they ushered the head of Imam Hussein, Ahl Shuhada. According to some of the Maqtals, they say that the head of Imam Hussein was kept in a box, and each time, each place that they made the stop, they would take it out and they would put it upon the spear, meaning that they were constantly doing this. At one point when they reached to Sham, there was an order that was given by Yazid al-La'in, by the accursed Yazid. He says that place the head of Hussein, alayhi afdal, place it before the women. وَإِذَا بَكَتْ بَاكِيَةً فَالْتِمُوهَا. He says that place it before them. And if anyone cries, if any of the women cries, then strike them. They said at one moment, Kulthum رَفَعَ رَأْسَهَا وَبَكَتْ. They said Kulthum, she looked up and she saw the head of Imam Hussein. She began to cry. She cried out, Ya Jadda, هَذَا رَأْسُ حَبِيبِكَ الْحُسَيْنِ. She cried out, oh my grandfather, here's the head of your beloved Hussein, that it is just here before us. They said that when Kulthum, when she cried out, one of the guards, they said that he struck down upon Kulthum. But how many times were the women crying? How many times would they have to hit the women and the children in Karbala, in Sham, that they were crying about the musibah of Imam Hussein? Perhaps to the point that they had to take the head of Imam Hussein. This is me analyzing that what happened. They had to remove the head of Imam Hussein, that if they wanted to sleep at night because the women were crying, whenever they saw the heads of their shuhada, that perhaps at night they said, look, if they wanted to rest, take the head away. And so the head was taken away. But in the dungeons of Sham, the crying didn't stop, to the point that Yazid was woken up, Yazid al-La'in, the accursed man, he was woken up wondering that what is this sound, what is happening? They said that the family of Hussein, particularly the daughter of Imam Hussein, that she's crying, she's asking for her father. He said that, okay, then place the head of Hussein upon a platter. Take this head to her. Let her see her father. They said when this platter came into the dungeons of Sham, they thought that was food. They said no one is hungry at this moment. When this head was placed before the daughter of Imam Hussein, and when she lifted the cloth from that head, she saw the head of Imam Hussein. She hugged the head of Imam Hussein. She said, Ya Abata, man khadhaba لحيتك بدمك. Oh my father, who has dyed your hair with your own blood. Ya abata man aitamani بصغر سني. She was crying that, oh my father, who has made me a yatim at this young age. They said at one moment, as Ruqayya, she was crying, hugging the head of her father, they said at one moment, غشي عليها وانقطع نفسها. She fainted with the head of Imam Hussein in her arms. At that point, Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he looked at his aunt. He says, Ya ammati Zaynab, irfa'i al-yatim min ra'si walidi fa'innaha faraqat al-hayat. She says, oh my aunt, oh Zaynab, remove the head of my father from the arms of his orphan daughter. For sure life is no longer. She has passed away in that state. They said Zaynab al-Kubra, she removed the head of Imam Hussein from the arms of Ruqayya. But the women and children in the dungeons of Sham, they began to cry. They began to cry at the loss of this orphan. على لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم بحق هذا المجلس الحسيني اغفر ذنوبنا واستر عيوبنا وقضي حوائجنا واشف مرضانا ورحم امواتنا وعجل فرج مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان واجعلنا من اعوانه وانصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه وتحت لواء بحق محمد واله الطاهرين. ماتم حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین.
اٹھو سجاد چلو 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 سجاد. شام جانا ہے ہمیں تھام کر بیڑیاں تم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو غم زدہ اہل حرم ان کی سالار ہو تم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد. میں نہیں دیکھ ہی پاؤں گی ستائے کوئی مار کر نیزوں کی نوکوں سے اٹھائے کوئی تازیاں نہ لے کر آنا جائے ظالم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو. شام جانا ہے ہمیں تھام کر بیڑیاں تم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو. ایسے دریا پہ گیا غازی نہ آیا میرا نہ بچا کوئی بھی غم خار نہ ماجا میرا اب میرا کوئی نہیں میری امید ہو تم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو. شام جانا ہے ہمیں تھام کر بیڑیاں تم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو. ایسے دریا پہ گیا غازی نہ آیا میرا نہ بچا کوئی بھی غم خار نہ ماجا میرا اب میرا کوئی نہیں میری امید ہو تم اٹھو سجاد
چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو
بیردہ ہاتھ بندھے جاؤں یہ قیدی بن کر ایسے خطبے میں سناؤں گی میں حیدر بن کر سن کے لہجے کو میرے کانپیں گے سارے ظالم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد
چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو
شام جانا ہے ہمیں تھام کر بیڑیاں تم اٹھو سجاد چلو
اٹھو سجاد چلو
اٹھو سجاد
چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو
کوئی پردہ بھی بچا ہے نہ محمل کوئی میرے سنگ کوئی لٹیرا ہے تو قاتل کوئی تیرے دم سے ہے میری آج بھی ہمت قائم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد
چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو
شام جانا ہے ہمیں تھام کر بیڑیاں تم اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد
سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو
کوئی پردہ بھی بچا ہے نہ محمل کوئی میرے سنگ کوئی لٹیرا ہے تو قاتل کوئی تیرے دم سے ہے میری آج بھی ہمت قائم اٹھو سجاد
اٹھو سجاد چلو
اٹھو سجاد
چلو
اٹھو سجاد غم زدہ ہے لے حرم ان کے سالار ہو تم اٹھو سجاد چلو
اٹھو سجاد چلو
اٹھو سجاد
چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو
میں نہیں دیکھ یہ پاؤں گی ستائے کوئی مار کرنے زوں کی نوکوں سے اٹھائے کوئی تازیانہ لے کر آنا جائے ظالم اٹھو سجاد
چلو
اٹھو سجاد
چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو
شام جانا ہے ہمیں تھام کر بیڑیاں تم اٹھو سجاد
چلو اٹھو سجاد چلو
تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی تمہیں حسین کو زینب ہے ابھی تمہیں حسین کو زینب ہے جواں کے سینے سے نیزہ جواں کے سینے سے نیزہ نکالنا ہے ابھی تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی تمہیں حسین
زینب
سنبھالنا. چھپایا خاک میں جس طرح میں نے اصغر کو، چھپاؤ گی ابھی تم بھی اسی طرح سر کو. اسیر بہنوں کو تم نے، اسیر بہنوں کو تم نے سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. میں جیسے ڈھونڈ کے لایا ہوں لاش قاسم کی، تم اس طرح سے سکینہ کو رن میں ڈھونڈو گی. تمہیں یہ دشت اکیلے، تمہیں یہ دشت اکیلے کھنگالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. برسنے والے ہیں پتھر حسین پر زینب، حوالے اب سے تمہارے ہمارا گھر زینب. کہ خود کو غازی کے پہرے، کہ خود کو غازی کے پہرے میں ڈالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. جواں کی سینے سے نیزہ، جواں کی سینے سے نیزہ نکالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. چھپایا خاک میں جس طرح میں نے اصغر کو، چھپاؤ گی ابھی تم بھی اسی طرح سر کو. اسیر بہنوں کو تم نے، اسیر بہنوں کو تم نے سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. جواں کی سینے سے نیزہ، جواں کی سینے سے نیزہ نکالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. تمہیں حسین کو زینب سنبھالنا ہے ابھی. یا حسین، 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 یا حسین.
Ajrakumullah. Brothers and sisters, we have 2 minutes before Maghrib, inshallah. We'll get ready for namaz. If you do not need to refresh your wudu, kindly go ahead and get ready for namaz. Let's make the lines, and volunteers will